So we're gonna focus on Volkert Idsinga,
Okay.
who is the Netherlands State Secretary for Finance.
That's right.
Now, what makes this case so interesting is that Idsinga represents the new social contract party.
Right, the NSC.
Lindsay, yeah.
Which, what makes this so fascinating is that this is the party that campaigns so heavily on being squeaky clean,
Yeah.
on good governance and transparency.
Right.
And now they're the ones who are facing these sorts of questions.
Yeah. And it kind of feels like one of those campaign promise boomerangs.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, you put it out there and then it kind of comes back and hits ya. So the core of the issue is that Idsinga has a personal investment portfolio that's said to be worth over 6 million euros.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
he claims to have placed these holdings at a distance,
Right.
but that hasn't really satisfied the Dutch parliament.
Well,
Even members of his own coalition are demanding more transparency.
yeah, it's a question of where is this money?
Right. Like, where exactly is it invested?
Exactly.
And you know, we're not just talking about a few stocks and bonds here.
No,
This is a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, and it could be influenced by government policies.
Exactly.
So it's understandable why people are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable that there might be some potential conflicts of interest.
Exactly.
So let's kind of dive into Idsinga's defense.
Okay.
He insists that he's followed all the rules,
Right.
that he disclosed his holdings to the formature.
Uh-huh.
And I guess for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with Dutch politics, the formature is essentially the person who puts the government together after an election.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So he disclosed everything to the formature, and then he put everything in a trust.
Okay.
So essentially he's saying that by doing this, he relinquished control over his investments
Yeah, like
while he's in office.
He's saying, trust me, I'm not doing anything, my hands are tied.
Exactly.
And in fact, he even gave a quote to RTL News.
Okay.
Emphasizing his commitment to transparency, but within the rules.
Within the rules.
And he also stressed the need to protect his privacy.
So it's almost like saying, I'm an open book, but some chapters are for my eyes only.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, too, because this isn't the first time he's faced questions like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was a similar situation earlier this year when he was still a member of parliament.
So maybe this is more than just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a pattern here.
Yeah.
And you know, adding to the drama, the Dutch parliament, they are not letting this go.
Right.
And it's not just the opposition parties making noise.
Oh, no, this is across the board.
Right.
A majority of the parliament from multiple parties want more information about his investments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really telling, even Geert Wilders,
Oh, wow.
who leads the PVV,
Right.
which is a party in coalition with Idsinga's NSC,
Yeah.
publicly criticized this lack of transparency.
Wow.
He even went on X, formerly Twitter, to say this was not good governance.
So even his own coalition partners are kind of raising some eyebrows here.
Yeah, I mean, when you have that level of agreement in
Yeah.
Dutch politics, where usually things are very divided,
Yeah.
that says something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very often you see that kind of unity.
Right.
So let's break down some of the specific concerns that members of parliament have voiced.
Okay, sure.
So one example, Juice Sneller, who's from the D66 party.
Mm-hmm. He questioned how Idsinga could claim this is a private matter when you're talking about so much money.
Yeah.
Like, how can you say that this is just a private thing?
Right.
And he really emphasized the need to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest.
The appearance, not even just the actual conflict, but even just the perception of it.
Exactly. And then you have Jimmy Dyke from the SNP party, and he pointed out that, well, Idsinga is a tax lawyer, so, you know, he should know better.
He should understand the importance of transparency when it comes to financial matters.
Right. Exactly.
Especially given his background.
Right. You would think.
You would think, yeah.
And this all really hits hard, considering the NSC campaigned on transparency.
Yeah.
So it really makes you think about actions speaking louder than words, or in this case, maybe inaction.
Yeah.
So we've heard the politicians' defense. We've heard the parliament pushing back.
Right.
What do the experts on transparency in government have to say about all this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we actually have some insights from some leading voices in the field. So first we have Lauswees van der Laan. She was the director of Transparency International Netherlands.
Okay.
And she really emphasizes that public trust is crucial and that officials need to be as transparent as possible about their finances.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then we also have the perspective of Leo Huberts,
Okay.
who is an emeritus professor of public administration.
Right.
He specializes in government integrity.
Okay.
And he brings up a really interesting point.
What's that?
He says that even unintentional conflicts of interest can happen.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why disclosure is so important.
Yeah, because you might not be trying to do anything shady.
Right.
But without transparency, how can people be sure?
Yeah, how can we be sure that there isn't something going on, even if it's unintentional?
Right.
And both of these experts agree that just putting your assets in a trust, it's not enough.
Well, because the value of those assets
Right.
can still be influenced by decisions made in the government.
Exactly.
So it's not a foolproof solution.
So let's get into some specifics here.
Okay.
The sources we've looked at actually list some of Itzinga's investments.
Interesting.
And some of them are, pretty mundane.
Okay.
Like a vacation home, some garage boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty normal stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then there are some that raise some questions.
Like what?
Well, for example, shares in a snack vending machine company.
Really?
And a financial stake in a real estate investment fund.
Interesting.
And
those are...
And these are things that could be directly affected by government policies.
Yeah, for sure. Things like taxes, regulations, even subsidies.
Exactly. And to make matters even more complicated, we don't actually know how his holdings have changed since he became state secretary.
So even more questions. It all comes down to, can personal wealth and political power truly be separate when you're talking about this much money?
Yeah, and should they be separate?
Right, that's the bigger question.
That's the bigger question. Yeah.
And I think that's a question that's worth exploring further.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just about Idzinga.
Right.
This is a question that's relevant to democracies all over the world.
It really is.
It's a fundamental question about how we balance individual rights with the need for transparency and accountability in government.
Exactly. And it's a question that we'll continue to grapple with.
Absolutely.
As we move forward in this deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
It's a fascinating case.
It really is.
With a lot of important implications.
For sure.
Yeah, it really makes you think about, how do we make sure that there is that separation between, personal wealth and political power.
Right. And is it even possible?
Yeah.